It's very interesting that I'm here presenting on something that Tom Bridge wrote as part of what I'm going to talk about, and he's talking about extending this even further. But a little bit about me, for those of you who don't know me, I'm from Spokane, Washington. Grew up in Los Angeles, actually. A lot of people refer to me as JD. I am the president of JD Strong Consulting and Strong Solutions. We have been an ACN member and also an Apple authorized reseller and service provider. I've divested that, and I am now keeping the consulting part of it, and I'm joining the team at Watchman Monitoring to help them with documentation and support and eventually professional services as well. But with that, I have eight plus years of doing the service bench, and I wanted to kind of talk about why I needed to automate the service bench and how we went about doing that using Munki and AutoPackage and AutoPackager. So part of it is that Apple, basically their metrics are an average tech in a week can get through about 20 repairs. That's a lot of machines for a single tech. I'm also cheap, so I want my techs to get through 30 repairs. So how do we do that? And one of the things that I saw that was really slowing us down were software updates. Getting Apple software updates on machines, updating software, all the other third-party software out there was really time-consuming and really taking away from my techs of having to kind of bounce back and forth to a machine to get that machine up to speed and get it ready to go out the door. So I wanted to find a better way because that's the tech ops, DevOps type idea behind that. So I wanted to normalize that process. I wanted it to be kind of a one-click instance, so my techs didn't really have to know what was going on in the background, just know that it did the right thing all the time, hopefully, and basically just automate that entire system. So this is kind of a walkthrough. Some of you are running Munki, have done this. Awesome. Sorry, I'm going to bore you a little bit by covering how to go through a Munki-in-a-box type setup. For those of you who haven't or would like to see it, please stick around. It takes all of about 5 minutes. Tom tells me 2 minutes on a really good, fast connection. I'm in Spokane. A good, fast connection doesn't exist for that. So kind of our agenda here is to set up a server and configure AutoPackage, configure a couple of manifests, and then get the onboarding for the client. So the whole idea here is we're going to onboard a client, use Munki to update it, and then offboard that client so that the customer at the end of the day has no idea that we've used these tools to do this. Now, you could stop short of the offboarding and actually implement this as an internal solution for that, but that's kind of beyond the scope here. So, what the heck is Munki? Munki, basically is a set of tools that allows us to basically push whatever software or package, anything that can be a package or an application can be pushed via Munki. A lot of you know Greg. He's awesome. The team behind Munki, it's been a great project. So that's Munki. And with that, we're pairing AutoPackage and AutoPackager. AutoPackage is the command line tools. AutoPackager is a nice GUI that wraps that. It's a framework of recipes. We heard about that from a great presentation yesterday about that. To basically create recipes to automatically update applications. And my all-important shot so I stay awake is here. Thank you, sir. Bravo. So, the server requirements are 10.10 or 10.11 for that. Server app 5. And for this implementation, we generally need about 500 gigs of free space. My other preference here is to have this on like a little Mac Mini server with an SSD in it, and maybe binding an extra Thunderbolt Ethernet port on there, so you actually have a little bit more bandwidth, a little bit more throughput on the machine. Clients can be 10.6, or greater, and then obviously have free space for updates. This goes really bad when you have somebody who has no free space on their drive, because Munki will try and pull the data down and fill up the rest of the space. So going through and setting up a server, the first thing that's important here is that we set a static IP address for your internal network. And then we're going to install OS X server. I think the holy grail here is someday not to have to have this as a requirement to run Munki, but right now this is how Apple tells us to get web services. And also the side benefit is caching server and the software update server. So we're going to take advantage of those for these updates. So we go through, we install server, we do all of that fun stuff. We need to change two settings first before we turn on web services. One is we need to enable PHP, and the other is we need to turn off the HTTPS redirect for that. And you do that by clicking on the edit for redirects and subtracting that away. You can set this up as a secure repo. I think that's Tom's talk, so I'm going to let him focus on that. But this, again, this is the whole idea of this is to get a repo up and running as fast as possible for the service bench. We're using this internally. Security, you should, but I'm not. So we're going to fire up web services here. The other thing we're going to do is turn on software update server. Once you go into that, we just turn that on, set it to automatic. Again, we want all of the updates. This is a service bench implementation, so we're not going to be picky. If you're implementing this for your organization, you might want to set this to manual and actually choose which updates get released. This is a way that you can go about controlling what Apple updates get pushed to your machines for that. We're going to configure caching server as well. The beauty of caching server is that it caches all of the App Store purchases, iBook purchases, iTunes purchases, just about everything for that. So the side benefit of that is if you have folks hitting your network, because I have a lot of customers that would come in and go, well, I just want to run the updates on my machine. They're local. They're not actually hitting your internet connection. So that's a huge plus for running our network. Having the solid-state drive in the machine that's providing this service and doing this all in one little machine is taxing. I'm not going to lie, it can be taxing with a lot of machines hitting it, especially if you also make this a NetBoot server. That's absolute insanity, and I don't recommend it, but it's doable. The problem with making this a NetBoot server is that you need HTTP for NetBoot. And Munki is also using that. So there can be a conflict sometimes depending on your configuration for that. But anyway, with caching server turned on, we're ready to get started with Munki in a Box. So we're going to download Munki in a Box, the script. This script is going to automatically push MunkiAdmin, auto package, auto packager, the Munki report, Munki enroll. Did I miss anything, Tom? Awesome. That'll do. Basically everything but the kitchen sink. Grabbing that, you want to hit the little download the zip, unless you want to get the whole repo for that. We're going to open up the Munki in a Box shell script for that. My favorite tool is Text Wrangler for that. And you're going to set your admin user for what the admin of the MunkiAdmin is going to be. And everything else I keep default, and we save the script. Important, save the script. I've learned my lesson. Then we're going to open up Terminal. It's an easy drag and drop into Terminal. And please note that we're not running this as root. We're not sudoing this. And then give it 2 to 5 minutes, and you're done. You have a fully running repo, which, thank you, Tom. I mean, just really, I want to stop and thank Tom. This is an awesome tool. So. This really makes it really, really easy. So our next step now is to go ahead and configure Munki. I'm going to do that with MunkiAdmin, only because the GUI makes it easy. I know that there can be some little weird things that happen with MunkiAdmin, but what we're doing for this should be pretty straightforward. So when you open up MunkiAdmin, we just need to select the Munki repo. That's been dropped for us in users shared Munki repo. So when you open up MunkiAdmin, it already has somewhat of a pre-populated configuration and repo for you. So our next step is to fill this repo and actually put software in it that we want to update on the machines. And for the service bench, we wanted to update kind of the mainstays, your Firefoxes, your weird little programs that everybody seems to have that never get updated, Skype, for example. So we're going to set up AutoPackage, and we're going to do that with AutoPackager. And AutoPackager just makes this a lot easier than having to do it at the command line. So the first thing it's going to do is actually install its helper tool. So you want to put in a password for that. And the next is to convert the recipe list. So go ahead and upgrade that. And there you go. We have AutoPackage and AutoPackager. It's like the easiest setup ever. At this point, we want to configure AutoPackage to run on a regular basis. Per advisement yesterday, don't check that bottom checkbox there. And then we want to add packages. And you do that in the repos and recipes, and then you can search under that. So in this case, we're looking for Skype. We've activated a couple or enabled a couple of the repos and added Skype to that. You want to be sure that you pick the .munki recipe. If you pick just the .download or the .install, it'll do a great job of doing that on the machine. But in this case, we actually wanted to also import it into the Munki repo. And you're going to do that with the .munki AutoPackage recipe. So clicking on the Run Recipes now is going to run all of those selected recipes. And once we reload, you'll notice that we now have Skype added to the repo here. So the next step is, right now the default setup here is basically to either forcefully put software on a machine or take it off. And that's not actually what I want to do in a service bench situation. So we want to go and edit the properties and look at the manifests for the default site default repo. And when we go in there, we want to configure the managed updates, because this is really why I'm putting this whole thing together, is I want to manage the updates of this software. And what managed updates in Munki does is, if that software exists and it doesn't match for some reason the version that we have in the repo, it will automatically update it. This is a beautiful thing in the service bench. But I don't want to force all this software on every single machine that we touch. That could be a bad thing. So we need to configure that to remove the items from managed installs, put those items in managed updates, and then if we want anything beyond that, also put in the optional installs, so that we then have a one-click install opportunity for the technician. And the nice thing about that is, if you had somebody coming in, for example, that says, I want Firefox, instead of having to go to firefox.com, download the package, open the package, drag it into applications, You go in, select Firefox in Manage Software Center, boom, it's installed. Easy peasy. And I don't have to worry about my techs going off on the road, finding a random old version of Firefox or whatever, or hitting one. The worst is really your Adobe Adobe Reader update that's not actually coming from Adobe, and then that tech is actually installing malware on the machine. Always awesome. This helps avoid all of that. So we go ahead and add all of these different packages to the optional installs for that. So this is the kind of the base of that. This takes maybe 20 minutes to get all set up and running and have a fully functional Munki repo and the ability for that. And it took me about 20 minutes to talk through all of that, and I've only had half of my shot of espresso. So the next step with this is we need to be able to onboard the machine to the Munki repo, use the tools that we're putting in place of Munki to basically mass update all the software on that machine, run all this Apple updates, and then pull all of that off the machine. So I wrote a little onboarding script. I first did it in AppleScript, and then I rewrote it in Bash. That basically tells the computer where the repo is to go ahead and get the updates and then present the entire set of updates and installs that are available for that machine. So I have the AppleScript. I guess I'll put it out on Git for distribution. Git doesn't really like AppleScripts, I've noticed. But I also have the shell script out there. And essentially the way I wrote these is all you have to do is basically set up where your Munki server is and where your SUS or software update server is. And it will automatically push those settings onto the machine and run the updates. So the Bash version of this is out on GitHub under Spokane Mac for the Munki in a Box service bench. And it's set up very similarly where you only have two variables really that you need to set. The IP address of the Munki server, the IP address of the SUS server, and it will take care of the rest. And essentially what it's going to do is it's going to install Munki, the Munki tools, kickstart them, go and look for all of the updates, go and look for all the Apple updates, and then kick open Manage Software Center and show you what updates are available. I also have a variable in there to basically kick up the volume temporarily and say that it's all done, and then kick the volume down. And the reason behind that is because we had quite a distance between where our actual techs work and where we would have these set it and forget it type areas where we would set up these machines to run. So they could audibly hear that a machine was ready for the next step once these tools were installed. So then it's just a matter of clicking Update All, walking away from the machine, and knowing that all of the updates have been pushed onto the machine. And then, like I said before, the other side benefit is that we have one-click installs for any additional software that a customer might be looking for. And then once we were done with the service, I didn't want to leave those tools on there because we're not making this repo public. We weren't providing this as a service. We're using this as a tool internally only. So I created a little offboarding script that basically pulls all the Munki tools off, removes those settings, and basically wipes all traces except for the updated software from the machine. So that's just basically a simple bash script as well that goes and finds all the parts and pieces and then removes them from the machine. This allowed us to go from what we were averaging, about 20 machines per technician per week. We got up to 32, an average of 32 machines per week. It's a lot. It's a lot of machines to be able to process by a single tech. And that includes putting parts in, running updates, doing all the diagnostics, all of that. The huge benefit for us with using Munki is that we could put a lot of our scripts as packages on the machine using Munki so that we had a little hidden folder full of scripts that would repair permissions and do all of those different types of actions that we wanted. I could drop those on every single machine, and then as part of this, pull those tools right off the machine at the end of service. And then my techs knew where to go on every single machine. It was the same, that if they needed to enable trim for a solid-state drive, I had a little trim enabler that I had written that is just a script that would just go ahead and run that. So they were going to the same place every single time. So a few things with this. So caveat emptor. Having autopilot for your updates can be dangerous. And per Elliot yesterday, you can do bad things with auto package as well. Trust but verify. So I do highly recommend setting this up as a test and production environment and actually testing updates before you do that. But again, the idea behind this initial setup was just to get something in place as fast as possible and alleviate a huge pain point for us. And again, what I'm talking about should only be used internally. See Tom's coming talk for what to do beyond that. This whole demonstration was an implementation to get this up and running as fast as possible. Part of this was I was working also with other service providers who was seeing what I was doing, and I needed a fast way of getting this in place for them because they were stealing time from me, asking me a million questions on how to do it, or getting halfway through the Munki install and then not knowing what to do next. Tom really saved me with Munki in a Box for that. Like I said, ideally you would employ a testing and production catalog and manifest system for that. We use this a lot to install our internal tools. Put a little piece of software like Watchman monitoring on there to also use as part of our checkout procedure. And this can also just be used for Apple updates. You don't have to do this for actually updating third-party software. It's not as much of a problem now. I mean, you can run software update right from the command line if you want. The beauty of this is on older updates. For some, I'm not sure how they do it, but Munki seems to be able to, or Managed Software Center seems to coalesce more of the updates and install them all at once for you. And then again, secured, as Tom will get to, I'm sure, this could actually serve as a managed service that you provided to clients outside of your consultancy for that. So that kind of is my quick run through of using Munki in a Box and Munki and Auto Package and Auto Packager for automating our service bench. I guess questions? Does anybody, I guess, do we ever do a kind of a poll of the room of, I mean, who are developers, strictly developers? Who are strictly I guess, who's developers? Everybody's a developer in the room? Operations? Consultants? All right. Is this useful for something like that? Do you guys see value either inside your organization or as a whole? I'm always curious is what the room actually is. I mean, there's a lot of you that I know are experts at this and are sitting here going, "Really, JD? Really, you're up here?" But that's okay. I'm cool with that. Please come teach me stuff that I'm missing. So, other questions or concerns or thoughts about what we're doing and why we're doing this? Elliot.
Yeah, on the subject of security, you mentioned that you use this internally, so it's not as much of a risk.
Right.
But obviously, Munki in a Box is used by people who also set it up externally. So I wonder if you, or maybe Tom, can talk a little bit about Munki in a Box security settings and maybe what the future holds for making it secure.
Wait for the next talk. That's what I can say. That's exactly what. Yes, he will. So.
I have a question. Thanks for the talk. So with the software update server and the caching server, do the clients get the updates directly from the server, or do those updates go through Munki first?
So part of what we're doing is Munki has the ability to also set the SUS, or the software update server. So by setting that setting and using Munki, it's actually going to our local cache of the updates to grab them. All of this is about speed. So I generally subnetted this and had its own dedicated network for it. And like I said, we put an extra Thunderbolt to Ethernet connection on the back end of this server. We put an SSD in it to get those updates as quickly as possible to that machine. And the other benefit of having the caching server turned on was, Maz, or Mac App Store, in the background does a lot of caching as well. So if there were updates and we didn't have their iCloud or Apple ID, that we couldn't update, they were at least pre-cached very quickly off of our network so that they were there and ready to install when the client took, or the customer took their machine back for that. So yeah, the whole idea is speed. You don't have to implement your own SUS. You can call on Apple for that, but having a local repo is definitely a lot better, especially in the volume that we were dealing with for this. Other questions? All right. If not, thank you guys.
Thank you.